Morning class, Charles here, just enjoying a beautiful day in Florida. Nice, beautiful view, but yet hot. And if you've been thinking like I have that it's been getting hotter every year, you're not alone and you're not wrong. As a matter of fact, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the past 5 years have been the warmest on record since they've started keeping record. NASA even posted an article on their website in 2018 that it stated, "There is no question that increased levels of greenhouse gas is causing the Earth to warm itself in response." Now, why is this an issue? We all have AC, right? Well, it's not exactly the Earth getting warmer that's the big problem. It's the driving factor behind the greenhouse gases and the side effects that it's causing. And the one major side effect that worries me the most is rising sea levels. And seeing how we live in this beautiful, lie-lulling coastal area, I would say rising sea levels might be an issue. So for that, I lead you into Bianca's segment, who's going to go into a little more detail about rising sea levels and how it's going to affect us, and furthermore our beaches, and maybe land erosion.
A conservative estimate of a long-term projections is that each Celsius degree of temperature rise triggers a sea level rise of approximately 2.3 meters over a period of 2 millennia. Sea levels could rise as much as 19 inches by 2050, according to what the report calls mid-range projections. The team used data from the U.S. Geological Survey to map all areas along the U.S. coastline containing homes that lie within 1 to 10 feet from the water level at high tide. Global average sea level could rise by nearly 8 feet by 2100 and 50 feet by 2300 if green gas emissions remain high, according to new research. Since the start of the century, the global average sea level has risen by about 0.2 feet.
Many people are interested in climate change and how a changing climate will affect the ocean. With the majority of Americans living in coastal states, rising water levels can have potentially large impacts. Scientists have determined that global sea level has been steadily rising since 1900 at a rate of at least 0.04 to 0.1 inches per year. Sea level can rise by two different mechanisms with respect to climate change. First, as the oceans warm due to an increase in global temperature, sea water expands, taking up more space in the ocean and causing a rise in the water level. The second mechanism is the melting ice over land, which then adds water to the ocean. The change in sea level is linked to three primary factors, all induced by an ongoing global climate change. Thermal expansion. When water heats up, it expands. About half of the sea level rise over the past 25 years is capable of being assigned to warmer oceans simply by occupying more space. Melting glaciers. Large ice formations such as mountain glaciers naturally melt a bit each summer. In the winter, snows primarily from evaporated seawater are generally sufficient to balance out the melting. Recently, though, persistently higher temperatures caused by global warming have led to greater than average summer melting as well as diminished snowfall due to later winters and earlier springs. That creates an imbalance between runoff and ocean evaporation, causing sea levels to rise. Loss of Greenland and Antarctica's ice sheets. As with mountain glaciers, increased heat is causing the massive ice sheets that cover Greenland and Antarctica to melt more quickly. Scientists also believe that meltwater from above and seawater from below is seeping beneath Greenland's ice sheets, effectively lubricating ice streams and causing them to move more quickly into the sea, while melting in West Antarctica has drawn a considerable focus from scientists.
Sea level rise is not a science fiction scenario, but a reality. Florida especially is vulnerable to the effects of sea level rise due to Florida being surrounded by water. Florida has more than 12,000 miles of coastline, almost 4,500 square miles of estuaries and bays, and more than 6,700 square miles of other coastal waters. In the last decade, the speed at which Florida's sea level is rising has increased, and sea level is now rising by as much as 1 inch every 3 years. This increase is mostly due to ice melting in the ocean and complicated by the porous limestone that the state sits on, causing major issues. With 1,200,000 properties at risk from frequent tidal flooding in Florida, the state is planning over $4 billion in sea level rise solutions, which include protecting sewage systems, raising roads, stormwater improvements, and seawalls. because with higher sea levels means that deadly and destructive storm surges push farther inland than they once did, which also means frequent flooding. Solutions take time to plan and execute, so it's important for cities and residents to be proactive. Knowing the issues sea level rise and flooding may pose today, in 10 to 30 years from now, will give coastal communities the time to prepare and find solutions that protect property, economy, and quality of life. Some solutions that are taking place now in cities are building seawalls, raising roads, building stormwater pumps, and upgrading sewage systems. The severity of oceanic and coastal effects caused by climate change, including sea level rise, ultimately depend on how rapidly humanity can eliminate human resources of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases entering the atmosphere at harmful levels, now